The Earth is an infinite plane where other lands, other civilizations, and other creatures exist, still unknown to humans but certainly not unknown to those who govern them. This is my journal, and what will be recorded here is a trial by fire that will be etched in the hearts of the most adventurous, the brave, and the curious. My name is Edward. I am a mechanical engineer, and I have worked all my life in large companies, which I won't bother naming now. On March 11th, I was called by the Air Force for a job that seemed quite delicate. I prepared for the interview with an agent who was going to explain some details about it. The meeting was to take place in an office in Manhattan. 5:20 p.m. was the time to leave. They told me the interview would be brief. The office was in one of the tallest buildings in the city, on the 108th floor. There were no delays, and I was already with the agent, sitting, listening to the proposal. The agent was very clear and told me verbatim, the job will be simple. There was good money and it would only last 4 months. He gave me some details about what we would do, but he wasn't very specific either. 2 major details were mentioned in passing but would be key in the future. It would be in Antarctica. "Do you have any problem with staying there for 4 months?" the agent asked me. It was the only time during the interview that I hesitated, not because of the trip itself, but because of the surprise. You will first go to the McMurdo base, and there you will be given the remaining details to carry out this work. Although I was filled with many doubts, the personal events of losing my wife and daughter in an accident 2 years ago continued to destroy me inside. So I decided that this trip would be a way to detach myself a little from the city. I accepted and shook his hand with a smile. All of this would happen in November. They would confirm the day my flight to the south would be ready. Before leaving the office, the agent looked at me and said, "Oh, I forgot to mention, not a word of this to anyone, please." I was already waiting for my flight to Buenos Aires. All these flights together made me a little grumpy, thinking that I would then have to spend a few months isolated from everything in Antarctica. I won't lie, it comforted me a little since I never was a fan of big cities, the noise and the frantic life one leads without stopping for a second to think about anything. The departure was ready, everything on track and on time. Someone would be waiting for me in Buenos Aires to continue the journey to Antarctica. After an uneventful flight, we landed in Buenos Aires. A person was waiting with a sign that had my name on it and asked me to follow him. A car was waiting for me, and a person with dark glasses stepped out, shaking my hand and introducing himself as the one in charge of getting me to Antarctica as soon as possible, and everything that entailed. During the ride to the hotel where I would stay that night, he confessed that the job wouldn't be as simple as they had initially planned due to some events he couldn't detail now, but that I would soon know about. Still, he tried not to worry me too much, but wanted to make me aware of the difficulty. As I feared, things were starting to get complicated, which is why I always tried to stay away from the forces. Nothing was ever as it was said, and everything ended up being much more complicated. After a few days where I couldn't leave the hotel due to strict orders from this supposed advisor, they called me early in the morning to inform me that the flight was scheduled to depart that same night from the Ministro Pistarini airport. It would be a direct flight to Antarctica in a Hercules. I thought to myself, if they didn't want to draw attention, I don't think that plane wouldn't raise questions for those outside. Upon arrival at the airport, everything became dark and nonsensical. They took me to the basement, and in a rather dark office, two men approached me with all kinds of questions. They separated my luggage, and although the questions were mostly about my past experience and some personal things, their tone wasn't friendly, but also not disrespectful. I didn't understand the situation and started to get quite upset, so I asked, "Why didn't you ask me all these questions before offering me the job?" They only said it was a protocol for security reasons and let me go after about 15 minutes of probing for more information and investigating my phone. They reminded me again not to mention this job to anyone, not even family. That's when I felt that accepting this job had indeed been a mistake. I didn't want to get involved in anything strange, and I wondered that if they checked me this thoroughly when leaving for Antarctica, I couldn't imagine the return. I swear that at that moment, if it weren't for the forces being involved, I would have immediately returned to my city. The flight was in total silence. In fact, I was sitting alone, and no one approached me at all, not to inform me of anything or talk about anything. Everything inside was very serious, and only a few voices were heard. We finally landed on Antarctic lands, the wind hitting us hard and giving us a rough welcome. The landing was without major complications. One of the agents asked me to follow him. He would show me the McMurdo base facilities. That's when I met some people there who kindly welcomed me. It would be 4 months, so I thought it would be best to get along with the people working there. The holidays had passed, and although I didn't interact much with others and focused on the tasks they assigned me during the day, I started getting along well with 2 or 3 colleagues who were also waiting for the supposed mission we would carry out. I thought it would also be something positive to carry out this supposed secret mission with people I liked. That same afternoon, a military officer arrived at the base and called the 3 of us separately into an office. He began to detail what we would do on this mission, which would start and end earlier than expected. We would take 3 helicopters and cross Antarctica to lands nearby where, according to him, no one had ever set foot before. One of the guys laughed, thinking it was all a joke. The military officer looked at him seriously, and we all understood that this was very serious and not a joke at all. "Lands behind Antarctica that no one has ever set foot on?" asked the same guy who had laughed seconds before. The smile had already disappeared from his face. "Look, I understand you have many questions, but for now, that's all I can say. The helicopters will cross and do something no one has ever done. Land on new lands. We need you to carry out this mission and return to the base with all the information you can gather. We know there's something there that belongs to us, and we want it back." He informed us not to worry, because a high-ranking officer would accompany us. We left the office with more questions than answers. Another land that no human has ever set foot on. Recover something that belongs to us. And what would we do in this mission? Everything was confusing, and none of the 3 of us could make sense of anything. All that remained was to wait until January 13th, when the helicopters would take us beyond the supposed unimaginable limits. We left the McMurdo base for an unknown destination. The operations leader, named Rob, tried to reassure us by saying everything would be simple. We would retrieve something he never wanted to detail what it was and return to the base. It would take a maximum of 6 hours. We were flying very low, and the landscape was incredible. In one helicopter, the 3 of us and Captain Rob, in the other 2, were scientific and military personnel I never met. We were about 15 people in total, including the pilots. After about 3 hours since we left, the other 2 helicopters requested permission to land and left the path. The 3 of us watched in astonishment as they distanced themselves. We asked the captain as many times as we could, but he didn't even turn around, only once to tell us everything was on track. We understood less and less. Where was all the personnel going, and why were we still alone on this journey? There was no more white land in sight, and although it seemed like something out of a science fiction book, mountains and green land appeared ahead of us, a modern city opening up as we approached. The captain informed us to prepare for landing. We were arriving at our destination. We looked at each other again, feeling inexplicable sensations inside. A whole new land and a new civilization hidden behind Antarctica. How was this possible? We landed, and 2 people quickly approached, positioning themselves on either side of each door. The captain asked us to get out immediately, so we did without hesitation. There was a woman and a man. They had human bodies, were very pale, and their eyes were larger than ours. They never emitted a sound from their mouths, but their voices echoed within us, welcoming us to the shifting islands, as they called them. Then he said, "The master is not happy that you have returned, but he will still receive you." Everything was confusion in the group. We only followed orders from both Captain Rob and these people who communicated through a great power of telepathy. We walked following these people on a dirt path through large fields. A city awaited in the distance, the modernity of which I had never seen in my life. Where I lived, I had never appreciated such technology and a city. A kind of staircase leading to the underground in the middle of the green field also opened up. They asked us to go down as the master was waiting for us. The four of us entered. "What should we do, Captain?" one of the guys asked. "We go down," the captain ordered, and we all followed. Before descending, I looked at the man standing with his hands behind his body, and he gave me a cold smile, clearly showing his annoyance at our visit. If things were strange until now, I can't even begin to tell you what would come next. We descended the longest stairs anyone had ever walked. It felt colder as we went down. A door of strange metal and symbols appeared, which opened by sliding to the right. A man almost 3 meters tall was waiting inside. "Master," said the captain, "permission, I brought 3 companions with me." Apparently this supposed master spoke the same way we did. Fear took hold of me. This creature almost 3 meters tall, whom they called Master, and our captain saying he brought us here. All of this didn't seem to be going well, and even less likely to end well. The master looked at me intently and said, before saying anything else, "Please, come closer and look through this window." I genuinely feared for my life now, but there was nothing else I could do. I approached and saw an image I had dreamed of so many times. My late wife and daughter walking through fields of flowers. My mind couldn't believe what my eyes were seeing, and my whole body began to tremble. Through tears, my legs couldn't bear the pressure and gave out, causing me to fall to my knees on the ground, while the image of my wife remained there, happily walking hand in hand with my beloved daughter in a beautiful field of flowers. Just as in the dreams that had woken me since that fateful night that turned my life into an eternal nightmare. I screamed her name and pressed my hands against the window that separated us, but they never heard me. In my desperation, I rushed out through the front door to find a way to embrace them and never let go. A giant being placed its hand on my chest, and everything went dark. I can't recall what happened during that time, because I later opened my eyes on a cold stretcher in a completely white room. A woman approached me as I tried to recover my memory and understand where I really was. The woman had curly reddish hair and wore a very strange mask. She took my hand and tried to convey some calm, seeing that I was sinking into despair. Through the mask, I could see her very light eyes, one of which had a reddish hue. Calm down. You'll be fine here. You had a very intense experience, more than your mind could handle. Here we call it a non-assimilated reality shock. This happens when your mind gets used to understanding your reality and can't comprehend that there are others very different from the ones you live in within those walled lands. Walled lands? I asked, somewhat astonished. Who are you? Where am I? You're safe, the strange woman replied. I want to see my family. Where are they? They are safe too, she responded. But you won't be able to see them now, she concluded. But why? Wasn't what I saw real? It seemed very real. I need to see them now and be able to hold them and talk to them. I understand that. but you need to understand that what you saw is real, more real than what you've lived until now. But you're not ready yet for another experience of the absolute zero line. What does that mean? I asked. The absolute zero line is a line you crossed when you came here, crossing what they call the false Antarctica. Some call this place a preparation for what comes next. Others say everything is an illusion, but the reality is that not everything is. When your body finishes life for whatever reason in the walled lands, the source travels to another place, doing so through the absolute zero line. However, not all souls or sources of life return. Some simply remain in this area, waiting for those who haven't yet, like you. Are you saying my family is waiting for me? I want to go with them now. You have to let me go to them. Listen carefully and try to calm down. Yes, of course, they are probably waiting for you, but now is not the time. You will first need to understand many other things that your mind, in this state, couldn't digest due to the conditioning of your entire life and the reality you've lived in your lands of origin. The woman began to walk toward a door that emitted a strong yellow light from within, and she asked me to follow her. On the other side, there was a place full of lights and walls around it, a very large fortification with many people walking among different fields, mountains, and diverse climates in each place. Then she looked into my eyes again and said, "This is the world kingdom of the dead, where all those souls who have decided to wait are. One day you will be able to reunite with them." My mind was as confused as my heart, which was beating rapidly without stopping. I had to sit down on the ground again while my hands filled with a strange dust. Tears once again fell from my face, and now I wasn't sure what I was feeling. I just wanted to reunite with them or see them again. I quickly stood up to look for them among the thousands and thousands of people there. The woman who was beside me turned around again saying, "I understand your pain, I really do. And that's why this is a secret, so that the people inside can live their experience as it was agreed from the beginning. Their mission is greater. Try to understand it now, or it will be much harder to assimilate later. With time, you will. It's very painful to lose a loved one, and you want to see them as soon as possible, but you must not interrupt your path because everyone will return to the cycle for the subsequent return, just as the first humans forged the destiny of humanity, which began in Asgard and connected with your lands of origin through a portal to the beautiful lands of Hyperborea. The Hyperborea portal is located in Rupes Nigra, at its center, but the Master will tell you about it in detail later. My head was about to explode, and I didn't understand why I was receiving all this information. I just needed to see my dear daughter and wife again. The pain was greater than anything else at that moment. Unfortunately, I couldn't understand what my ears were hearing or comprehend the entire situation I was going through. While I was sitting in a very large room with dim lighting, a very tall figure was approaching me. It was once again who they called the Master, slowly making his way. Next to him was Captain Rob, who looked at me, trying to calm me down in some way. The Master looked at me intently and said,
"These structures are not ours. All this field of energy and underground construction was created long before we came. You humans have a completely different past than what you have been told. And for that reason, we are not happy when people visit us. Unfortunately, the connection with your ancestors has been lost, and that can lead to greater problems. We protect this place with our lives because we believe it is important to maintain the current state regarding what happens in the absolute zero line. We understand that there are many theories circulating today, and while it's true that there are many illusory generations here, the reality is that human souls often wait here to begin their journey to the celestial lands. From here, we help make that happen, and we contribute our small part from our position. You must assimilate it as soon as possible to avoid falling into a difficult cycle to escape. Many past and present investigations have been conducted, but from here, we fight to keep this secret and the connection with other worlds and planes. The Kingdom of the Dead, as they call this place, is a space that must not be contaminated, as it is a place of purity and vital energy that is simply waiting to begin its return.
Sir, with all due respect to what you are telling me, I need to talk to my wife and daughter and be with them. The master looked into my eyes again and told me that it was not possible.
You still do not understand this kingdom. You cannot connect with them now because it is another type of energy field that could not only harm you, but also the entities around you. The vision you had was simply to help you understand that this kingdom is not like anything you have seen before. It is a space that you will be able to interpret in the future.
Rob interrupted, commenting that I should remain calm because my family was fine and waiting for the return. My mind and heart, unable to understand, pushed me toward desperation for not being able to see them again. I then asked them why they had brought me to this place, and the master responded,
"Because you are one of the few who will be able to better understand your own existence. From now on, your life will change forever, as you had been stuck in the past and in memories. But now you must focus on what is to come on your path. Time will eventually bring you back to this environment, and you will be able to enter the kingdom to return to celestial lands, but not today, because today is not your time."
I still cannot fully comprehend the experience. After this, they took me to a well-lit room, and the next thing I remember is waking up in a helicopter returning to the McMurdo Antarctic base. What happened next, I cannot publish due to the confidentiality I signed. It is up to you to believe this story or not, but I assure you that my life was never the same.